Sometimes referred to as the Kardashian of Sinaloa, Emma Coronel Espuro grew up in the world of Mexico's drug cartels. Early on, she also got married to the drug lord, El Chapo, which makes her all the more an interesting figure. But here's the thing. Since her husband's case, a lot has come to light, and it concerns not only his drug business but also his relationships. This makes one wonder, what does El Chapo's American wife think about her husband? And what truth could she reveal to us about the man? Emma Coronel Espuro. Before we can really understand how Emma feels about her husband, it's important that we understand the kind of person she really is first. Emma Coronel was born on July 2, 1989, in the vibrant city of San Francisco in the U.S., to Mexican parents. Why was she born in America? What happened was that her mother, Blanca Estela Espuro, was visiting relatives in America when it was time to conceive. During that time, her father toiled as a dedicated farmer, but then again, that's not all he did. After spending some time in the U.S., she was later brought back to Mexico. Emma's life would soon weave a tapestry of contrasting worlds, embracing both the allure of the United States and the rustic charm of a remote town nestled near Angostura in Mexico's Durango state. This region was notorious as the fabled Golden Triangle of drug trafficking. At the tender age of 11, Emma's parents made the decision to send her back to California. However, after a year away, the yearning for her family and the idyllic countryside drew her back home. It was during her childhood that destiny aligned her path with that of a notorious figure, the drug lord himself. With the assistance of her father, who was affiliated with the Sinaloa cartel, Emma Coronel found herself crossing paths with El Chapo. In a twist of fate, mere months after their first encounter, Emma embarked on a journey of her own, entering a beauty contest held annually at the esteemed Coffee and Guava Fair in Canellas. With unwavering pride, she claims her victory stemmed from the genuine support of her constituents, debunking speculations perpetuated by the Mexican press that she won because of El Chapo's influence. During this period, Guzman was living life as a fugitive and would later orchestrate a daring escape from the confines of Puente Grande, Jalisco, a maximum security prison. Nonetheless, the man on the run assumed the role of a suitor, regularly visiting the Coronel household. These visits often coincided with local festivities or dances, but contrary to popular belief, Emma affirms that extravagant gifts were not the key to her heart. Reflecting on those enchanting beginnings, Emma's face blushes with warmth as she recalls, "What won me over was his way of talking, how he treated me, the way we began to get along, first as friends, and from that foundation, everything else blossomed." According to her, El Chapo possessed a magnetic charisma that effortlessly captivated those around him. She aimed to convince people that the drug lord won not only her, but people over with his demeanor, actions, and genuine respect. Anyways, driven by her heart's conviction, Emma made the decision to leave her then-boyfriend behind and prepare for the role of El Chapo's third wife. They made an agreement to wait till she turned 18, and on July 2, 2007, a priest in Canellas united the couple in matrimony within the cherished walls of her family home. Donning an exquisite white dress, Emma radiated with ethereal beauty, resembling a princess stepping into her destiny. The intimate celebration included close-knit relatives and friends, although none of the groom's family were present. Thus began the extraordinary journey of Emma Coronel. Her life would forever intertwine with that of the infamous El Chapo, a story laced with passion, complexity, and a glimpse into the enigmatic world of power and love. Union of power and controversy. Now, for years, speculation has swirled around the marriage between the formidable El Chapo, who was 50 years old, and a young teenager captivated by his charms. It was not merely a union of hearts, but a convergence of two influential factions within Sinaloa's intricate drug-producing hierarchy. The U.S. The Treasury Department shed light on Emma Coronel's father, Inés Coronel Barreras. The man was a major drug trafficker and one of Guzman's top lieutenants. In 2013, America's Treasury Department sanctioned Inés Coronel under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act. Consequently, the U.S. began freezing Coronel Barreras' assets. The allegations suggested that Coronel Barreras, popularly known as the father-in-law within the cartel, orchestrated drug shipments from Mexico through Arizona for the Sinaloa cartel. Ultimately, Mrs. Espuro's father, as well as her young brother Edgar, were arrested, prosecuted, and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Emma Coronel remains steadfast in her belief that both her father and brother are innocent, asserting that the charges were an orchestrated effort by the government to seize control of her family's assets. This shows Emma's resolve to always stand by her family, no matter what comes to light about them. Tragedy struck the family when Ignacio Coronel, a close relative, lost his life during a confrontation with the Mexican army on July 29, 2010, in Zapopan, Jalisco State. A year after the tragic incident, Emma Coronel gave birth to twin daughters, Maria Joaquina and Emali Guadalupe, fathered by Guzman. Like herself, Emma made sure that her daughters were also citizens of America. Apparently, even if the drugs they profit from are ruining the country, she knows that the U.S. is a good place to be. Anyways, although the exact number of Guzman's children remains unclear to Emma, she actively participates in raising 3 of them. Thus, Emma Coronel's journey unfolds, rife with power, controversy, and a relentless pursuit of dreams amidst the complexities of her extraordinary life. How extraordinary is her life? Well, in 2018, Emma Espuro hosted a Barbie-themed birthday party for their twin daughters, as depicted in photos shared on Instagram. These images showcased her lavish lifestyle, posing next to a life-sized Barbie dream house. It is worth noting that at the time, El Chapo was in prison and awaiting trial. Months later, El Chapo's trial began. And then, following the riveting 11-week trial that held the world's attention, Emma Coronel found herself thrust into a life of opulence and extravagance while her husband began serving a life sentence in prison. Shortly after El Chapo's sentencing in 2019, she took to Instagram, sharing pictures of a picturesque gondola ride near the iconic Rialto Bridge in Venice, Italy. Indulging in delectable cakes, she playfully captioned her post, "What diet?" In a notable debut appearance on VH1's reality show, Cartel Crew, Emma disclosed her aspirations to launch a clothing line in El Chapo's name. She enthusiastically revealed her plans to make multiple appearances in the show's second season, exclaiming with a glass of champagne in hand while aboard a boat in Miami, "I'm very excited to start this project. I am trying to do what we talked about and what we wanted." Despite her extraordinary circumstances, Emma expressed a longing for a semblance of normalcy, emphasizing, "It's sad that they judge without knowing us. Sometimes you just want to be a normal person. I consider myself a normal woman." Complexities that came with her marriage, in shedding light on the intricate web surrounding the relationship between Mexican drug lord El Chapo and Emma Coronel Espuro. It has come to light that their union might not be legitimate. In the book titled Emma and the Other Narco Women by Annabel Hernandez, published on January 25, 2022, it is said that Emma is not officially recognized as El Chapo's wife. The man, Joaquin Archibaldo Guzman Loera, remains legally married to his first wife, a social worker whom he wed in 1977, according to the book. Emma Espuro claims that their marriage in July 2007 was conducted under the law of the divine. The book's author reportedly confirmed Guzman's marriage to his first wife as recently as last year. Despite the legal intricacies, it is alleged that Guzman bribed a priest in Sinaloa, Mexico, to officiate a wedding ceremony for him and Emma Espuro. According to the book, the wedding was described as enormous, although Emma maintains that it was a modest celebration among their families. But then again, one can hardly take her seriously. I mean, this woman once claimed that she was unaware of her husband's true nature at the time of their wedding. Yes, in 2018 she publicly revealed this, stating that she only began to understand the extent of his activities after news of their marriage made headlines. According to her, she was only 18 and didn't really know anything. As you know, Emma Espuro is not El Chapo's sole romantic interest. He reportedly fathered 9 children with different mothers, all older than Emma, and they did not have any association with her. These revelations add further complexity to the already captivating story surrounding the alleged marriage between Emma Coronel Espuro and the infamous El Chapo. But the story of Mrs. Emma Espuro would get even more captivating and tragic on February 22, 2021. That was the day Emma Coronel Espuro found herself entangled in a complex court case. She was charged with helping her husband escape the Mexican prison back in 2015 and plotting another jailbreak following his recapture in 2016. And how did she aid El Chapo's release? Well, she did it by smuggling a GPS watch disguised as food. This reportedly aided the drug lords in digging a tunnel beneath a Mexican prison. Also, she was charged with active participation in a drug distribution conspiracy in the United States. Charges encompass the alleged distribution of substances such as cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and marijuana. According to court documents, Emma Espuro is suspected of conspiring to distribute significant quantities of illicit substances. The charges specify involvement in the distribution of 1,000 kilograms or more of marijuana, 500 grams or more of methamphetamine, and 5 or more kilograms of cocaine. On June 10, 2021, She pleaded guilty to 3 of the charges against her, and months later, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison. During her sentencing in a Washington federal court, Cornell expressed true regret for any and all harm she had caused, with her words translated by a Spanish court interpreter. She humbly asked for forgiveness, acknowledging her actions. This outcome was a setback on a life that was once steeped in the opulence of yachts, luxury brands, and glamorous photo shoots. Emma Coronel is currently in jail and spends approximately 22 hours a day confined to her prison cell. Her lawyer denounced the conditions in which she was held. Coronel is allotted only a few hours in a small communal room, with the majority of her time spent alone in her cell. In this isolation, distractions are limited. It is unclear whether she had the opportunity to communicate with her twin daughters from her marriage to El Chapo then. However, 33-year-old Emma Coronel Espuro was later transferred from a federal prison in Fort Worth to a confinement facility or halfway house in Long Beach. This was revealed in a statement from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Emma's court case represents a critical juncture in her life, with profound consequences that may forever alter the trajectory of her existence. The transformation of the Kardashian of Sinaloa. Emma Coronel's life is one that boggles the mind, which is why it's worth learning about. From an influential social media personality to a prisoner, stripped of her lavish jewelry, luxury clothes, and designer heels, she appeared unrecognizable in a blue and green prison jumpsuit during a virtual court hearing in the United States. As the third wife of Mexican drug trafficker Joaquin El Chapo Guzman Loera, Coronel really embraced and lived the life she was born into, a life of drugs and violence. Frequently referred to as the Kardashian of Sinaloa, Coronel made headlines during her husband's 2019 trial in New York, where he received a life sentence. Flanked by bodyguards, she captivated the press with her impeccable attire and dutiful presence alongside her children. Despite the immense pressure surrounding the trial, she claimed to be doing fine and confirmed that she had never hidden her husband's whereabouts from their twins. "They know their dad is in jail," she disclosed to the press, expressing that her children kept her occupied and prevented her from feeling lonely. Throughout the ordeal, her defense of her husband remained steadfast. With her polished makeup and composed demeanor, Coronel granted several television interviews, carefully selecting her words while unveiling glimpses of her private life. She looked quite comfortable around the press. That composure came from the fact that she had pursued an education, studying communication sciences at the Autonomous University of Sinaloa. She wanted to be a journalist at the time. As stated earlier, Coronel always appeared at ease in front of the camera, skillfully sidestepping uncomfortable questions about her husband's illicit activities with a smile. Whenever drug trafficking-related topics arose, she would coyly respond in a shy voice, saying, "I would prefer not to answer that." Despite asserting that she led a normal life, enjoying outings with friends to restaurants and movies, her identity was widely recognized in Sinaloa. "I don't need lots of material things, just happiness and tranquility. I don't want my life to be a big deal. I enjoy going to the beach, going out, and having fun like anyone else," she candidly shared with the press. As Emma Coronel's story unfolded, she underwent a remarkable transformation, navigating the challenges of public scrutiny and legal proceedings while attempting to maintain a sense of normalcy amid the extraordinary circumstances surrounding her life. But all that came about from her tie with El Chapo. So the curious question remains, how does she feel about the drug lord? But to understand this, it's important that we take a quick look at El Chapo's life of wealth. El Chapo's illustrious fortune. Now, El Chapo's involvement in the cocaine trade during the 1990s enabled him to amass a vast fortune, which granted him a life of opulence. With the wealth he accumulated, he indulged in luxuries such as owning 4 private planes, scattered mansions along Mexico's pristine beaches, and even a personal zoo on one of his numerous ranches. Testifying at his trial, Miguel Angel Martinez, El Chapo's trusted associate known as El Gordo, revealed details about the family's extravagant lifestyle. Now, you should know that Forbes had once recognized El Chapo as one of the wealthiest individuals globally. Coronel asserted that she never lived a life of luxury. As for her husband, he dismissed the notion and questioned where the magazine believed his fortune was, as he claimed not to know its whereabouts himself. But then El Gordo's testimony was something very different from all that they said. First, their Guadalajara ranch boasted 4 swimming pools and housed a collection of exotic animals, including tigers, lions, panthers, and deer. Guests would be delighted by a whimsical little train that transported them around the property. El Chapo himself possessed an impressive fleet of luxury cars, and frequently embarked on lavish trips abroad. All this, Emma Ispuro enjoyed with her husband. The turning point in Coronel's relationship with Guzman occurred in February 2014, when she was suddenly taken to him at the Miramar Tower in Mazatlan, Sinaloa. The details of what transpired at that time are not provided, but on February 22nd, early in the morning, authorities raided the location where Emma Coronel Ispuro and her husband Joaquin El Chapo Guzman were staying. Men with guns entered the room and demanded to know the whereabouts of El Chapo. Guzman emerged from the bathroom and assured them that he was present. This arrest ultimately led to his imprisonment at El Altiplano, a maximum security facility in Mexico, for 1 year. El Chapo remained within its walls until he orchestrated one of the most audacious prison escapes witnessed by the world. In July 2015, El Chapo successfully navigated a 500-meter tunnel ingeniously constructed from the shower block of the prison. The tunnel was equipped with lighting, ventilation systems, and even rails to facilitate the removal of debris. El Chapo's audacious escape demonstrated his resourcefulness and cunning. In the eyes of the Washington, D.C. District Court, Emma Coronel aided her husband during this surreal and movie-like escapade, adding yet another layer of intrigue to their extraordinary story. Coronel believes that U.S. drug enforcement agents were among the individuals at the scene. It took a month before Coronel and her daughters were able to visit Guzman at El Altiplano prison. During that time, she saw him more frequently than ever before. Between July 2015 and January 2016, Coronel had only 2 encounters with her husband. During those encounters, Guzman simply wanted to spend quality time with his daughters and find peace. This desire to spend time with his loving family led Guzman to attempt another escape in a stolen car before a recapture in Los Mochis. During that time, Coronel drove to El Altiplano prison. She had to wait for 3 days before being allowed a 15-minute visit with her husband. This time, the prison guards took extra precautions. Guzman was heavily restrained, and the guards, armed and hooded, remained close by with cameras recording their interactions. As Coronel left the prison, Guzman reassured her with a few words of encouragement, telling her not to worry and that everything would be all right. The El Chapo court case unveiled. Now, during El Chapo's trial, his wife, Emma Coronel, sat alone, observing the proceedings as she watched her husband from a short distance. She remained composed, barely reacting when FBI agents read aloud the transcript of messages exchanged between El Chapo and one of his mistresses, Agustina Cabanillas Acosta. This exchange not only exposed Guzman's infidelity, but also revealed the mistress's involvement in cocaine and marijuana trafficking in the United States. Addressing him affectionately as Love, she expressed that he was the most important person in her life. As the agent leading the investigation described, Acosta had become a plaything for Guzman, indicating his fondness for her. El Chapo glanced at Coronel as his infidelity was laid bare for all to see, but Emma never really spoke about how she felt about that to the press, and even in court she showed no emotion about it. But then, after El Chapo's sentencing, she capitalized on the media attention surrounding her and participated in a reality show, Cartel Crew, aired on the VH1 network in the United States. In a conversation with Michel Blanco, the son of Colombian drug trafficker Griselda Blanco, Coronel expressed her philosophy of avoiding regret for the past. Dressed in white and standing on a yacht, she discussed her plans to launch a clothing brand named El Chapo Guzman, JGL. This is an acronym representing her husband's full name. It is worth noting that one of El Chapo's daughters, Alejandrina Guzman, had previously launched her own brand in 2019 called El Chapo 701, referring to a Forbes magazine ranking that listed the drug trafficker as the 701st richest person in the world in 2009. However, neither brand managed to sustain its business. In a move characteristic of the millennial generation, Emma Coronel diversified her ventures and heavily invested in building her influence through her Instagram account. She promoted various local brands in Sinaloa, ranging from beauty products and clothing to jewelry, burger joints, and ice cream parlors in the area. While her account only features 5 posts, it has amassed a staggering 592 million followers. Instead of focusing on her private life, Coronel presents professional photographs, with her followers admiring her image and style. All this makes one wonder what she really thinks about the man she married. I mean, who goes into this kind of lavish lifestyle when her husband, whom she claims to love, is in prison for 30 years? Anyways, the bubble soon burst, and now the world awaits to see how long Coronel, the influencer, will have to continue wearing the prison jumpsuit that has become her new reality. Allegations of cheating and spying. Emma Coronel has always seemed unbothered about being the third wife of drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. She's also not bothered about the significant age difference of 32 years between them. While she acknowledges their daughters, who are among the reported 19 children he has fathered, she dismisses the frequent reports of Guzman's alleged brutality toward women. During El Chapo's trial, evidence regarding his recorded and wiretapped conversations took center stage. Despite having multiple wives, mistresses, and numerous children, Guzman had his own cybersecurity system in place to spy on the women in his life, even as U.S. authorities were listening in on his conversations. Through the testimony of undercover FBI agents Charles Stephen Marston and Christian Rodriguez, the top IT expert recruited by the cartel, Guzman's electronic surveillance tactics were exposed. Marston posed as a Russian mafioso to entice Rodriguez into revealing codes for communications using voice over internet protocol servers in the Netherlands. Rodriguez, who had already been mentioned in previous evidence as being irresponsible in setting up proper encryption for one of Guzman's hideouts, was revealed to be actively cooperating with the FBI. During his testimony, Rodriguez explained that he had been instructed by Guzman to install a spyware program called FlexiSpy on 50 designated special phones. Guzman became fixated on the technology and even sought to gain access to other people's computers through it. On one occasion, Rodriguez installed the bug in the presence of a woman under surveillance, distracting her while carrying out the task. A series of text messages presented as evidence provided an unprecedented glimpse into Guzman's personal life. These messages included exchanges with his wife, Emma Coronel Aispuro, and his mistress, Agustina Cabanillas Acosta, whom Guzman referred to as Fiera. Fiera can be interpreted as wild beast. The messages disclosed intimate details, revealing conversations about escape plans from safe houses and business matters. Emma Coronel sat in court, listening to the evidence and reading the messages for a second time, including those suggesting her involvement as an intermediary in illegal activities. In one message, Guzman discusses his fearless daughter Maria Joaquina, even mentioning his intention to give her an AK-47 to accompany him. With Miss Acosta, their conversations predominantly revolve around business matters. Guzman inquires about sales, to which she responds with enthusiasm, describing their operations as busy and non-stop. However, she also complains about Guzman spying on her, a complaint that is validated by the evidence presented. She defends her husband still. Despite all this, Emma Coronel Aispuro remained deeply concerned for her husband's safety. She strived to avoid drawing attention as she entered the restaurant, dressed stylishly in black slacks, a sleeveless pale pink blouse, and a Prada bag. If there are any bodyguards, they remain discreetly outside. During an interview, Coronel expresses her lack of knowledge when it comes to what her husband did for a living. Having met El Chapo as a teenager in approximately 2007, the 26-year-old former beauty queen has never publicly discussed her 8-year marriage to a man who has led one of the world's most violent criminal organizations, responsible for a significant portion of Mexico's marijuana, heroin, methamphetamine, and murder. While she was still free, Coronel remained determined to convey the urgent message. Her husband's life is in danger. She feared he may not survive his current confinement in El Altiplano, the prison where he is being held in solitary confinement since January 8th. This follows his second escape from the maximum security facility, which Mexican authorities consider a significant embarrassment. Coronel asserts that her husband is being punished for his escape and claims that the authorities are closely monitoring him in his cell. She describes a lack of privacy, even when he needs to use the restroom, and alleges that they disturb his sleep and constantly observe him. Since his latest incarceration, Coronel has been permitted to visit him only once, for a mere 15 minutes. She expresses concern that he is being subjected to slow torture and is suffering from dangerously high blood pressure. "I am afraid for his life," Coronel confides, emphasizing the potential risks her husband faces during his imprisonment. To think that someone would speak of justice when speaking about Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was a bit shocking to reporters. This is a man who trafficked a staggering 1.8 million pounds of cocaine between 2003 and 2014, while also ordering his hitmen to carry out hundreds of violent acts, just seemed a bit off. But then, Mrs. Coronel was never known not to defend her family. While most people know El Chapo as a dangerous leader of a dangerous cartel, this is not the image that Emma Coronel Aispuro, his wife, presents. According to her, El Chapo is a loving family man, despite spending the entirety of their 8-year marriage either imprisoned or on the run. Describing her husband, Cornell insists that he is not violent or rude, presenting him as an ordinary man. She claims to have never witnessed him exhibiting violence or using drugs. To her, he is a kind and respectful individual, referring to her as his queen. Emma Coronel also spoke calmly and almost monotonously once while describing their life together. This life, which began in the rural hills of Durango and transformed into a twisted fairy tale of romance, intrigue, and constant fear, wasn't something she regretted. A true but twisted love story. The love story began at a dance in the hamlet of La Angostura, situated in the town of Canelas, Durango, within Mexico's Golden Triangle, an area heavily controlled by the powerful Sinaloa cartel. This is a place where poppies and marijuana flourish. Coronel recounts the moment they crossed paths on the dance floor, with Guzman smiling flirtatiously at her. Although she had a boyfriend at the time, she accepted Guzman's invitation to dance, as it was customary in the area. However, she insists that it was not love at first sight and that their encounter was brief. But then she and El Chapo would not let it stay brief for long. After marrying El Chapo, Coronel moved to Culiacan, his stronghold, and pursued her education, studying journalism at the university. Now, there were lots of allegations against her and her husband about how she funded her education. But Emma Coronel Espuro has maintained that she has had to support her education through her own legitimate businesses. This legitimate business includes an inherited land, which, considering her father's connection to the cartel, can hardly be legitimate. Anyways, during this time, she had sporadic encounters with her fugitive husband, sometimes seeing him every weekend and other times waiting for months before being summoned. Despite the challenges and uncertainties, Coronel remained committed and devoted to her husband, emphasizing that she is in love with him and that he is the father of her children. The birth of their twin girls in 2011 prompted Coronel to view their family situation differently. She became concerned about the potential impact on her daughters' lives and worried about them being judged or affected by events they were unaware of. She expressed deep sadness at the thought of them growing up without being able to see their father. Despite the challenges they faced, Coronel noted that her husband never displayed fear or agitation, even in moments of great stress. She described him as highly intelligent, albeit lacking formal education. However, what troubled her was his status as a notorious figure in the drug world and her inability to control the narrative surrounding her life. Coronel's perspective provides insight into her experiences and emotions throughout her relationship with El Chapo, illustrating the complexities and uncertainties she faced as his wife. Indeed, their story has been a life lived within the eye of the hurricane, navigating the complexities of their relationship amidst the backdrop of criminality and danger. So how could they do this? Well, Emma Coronel Espuro revealed that Joaquin El Chapo Guzman had long desired to collaborate on a film about his life to counter what he believed were falsehoods and sensationalism surrounding him. Actress Kate Del Castillo, known for her portrayal of a female drug kingpin in a telenovela, was exploring such a film project after Guzman reached out to her. During Guzman's time as a fugitive, Del Castillo and Sean Penn conducted a clandestine visit with him. Penn later wrote an article for Rolling Stone about the encounter, which included a video interview with Guzman. Coronel expresses anger at the publication of the video, considering it a betrayal. She explains that her husband believed the footage would only be used as background information for a written article, not as a standalone video. The video featured Guzman admitting his involvement in the drug trade since he was 15, driven by poverty in the rural mountains. Coronel and Guzman felt that the video's release went against their expectations. Coronel downplays the affectionate messages exchanged between Guzman and Del Castillo, considering it a result of their initial meeting and not a personal relationship. She claims she did not feel jealous of Del Castillo. Well, this is very believable once you understand that Mrs. Emma is good at playing the chameleon. I mean, there's a good chance that her unwavering commitment stems from the fact that if she's not seen as a committed wife to El Chapo, she could be killed even while in prison.